Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is G. Cole, and welcome to Homegrown, where I get to share with you some good music while talking to some great people. Hello world, hope you're feeling as good as I am. I want to big up all my homegrown listeners out there and welcome all the new listeners. If you haven't yet subscribed, please do so we can keep you updated when new material is available. We will be posting new episodes bi-weekly. Want to thank everyone who has been listening and sharing. Please leave us a comment. We'd love to hear from you. Please check out the website homegrownwithgcole.com to listen and for all things homegrown. The podcast is available on iTunes, Spotify, TuneIn, Stitcher, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Radio.com, YouTube, wherever you listen to your podcast, we are there. We're also very interactive. Please follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at MyGCole. The video of this interview is also available on YouTube. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. This is episode 113, and the conversation surrounding Jamaica's not having a festival song competition for this year continues. The JCDC and Minister Babsy Grange had a press conference, if you will. A Zoom press conference, inviting members of the media and others to join in. She had a lot to say, and one gentleman who was on that panel, Mr. Richard Blackford, courtesy of Yard Media and Sunday Scoops, was part of that conference. He has a whole lot to say, and we're going to get in. Straight in. Festival thing come out. I had an episode before that titled, I don't even remember what I titled it, but it was more along the lines of, I called the name, was it Babsy? It was at JCDC. It was just, it's a crap show. Especially for those people who are patriotic people, lovers of the culture. Just love Jamaica, what we stand for. History is very, very important. And the thing about history pretty much is there's no end date on it. History sometimes is more relevant than the present because it tells you and helps you to navigate the present, right? Not knowing history, you sometimes can't get through the present. So we talk about the future. The future may never come for you if you don't know your history. It is what it is.
The great Marcus Garvey said that. A man who don't know his history is twice defeated in the race of life.
Absolutely. And we see why things go the way they are right about now. There's some kids right about now who don't even know the history of schooling and governance and how things work, you know. And I hate putting it like they're ignorant, but it's something that's not reinforced. And sometimes I don't want to be naive to the fact that there are things going on right about now that are new to many, right? The mere fact that I went to military school, so our standards were up there, but even when I was in public school, it's a scenario where leadership and authority rules. Even when you had that rogue parent that would come to school and act the fool, the child never did it. You know what I mean? The child have to make sure to say, I go home, go make my rogue parent come to school, come act the fool, but it can't go down. You know what I'm saying? No, you got kids acting the fool. And don't get me wrong, we have also educators who are not properly trained, as we have in every avenue right now.
Yeah, administrators who have no clue what them job really is.
Yep.
And therein lies the problem we find ourselves faced with. But, you know, we talk about the history thing. Mm-hmm. One of the first things where I think Jamaican people need for...
Hold on. Ladies and gentlemen, my apologies. I didn't give you a proper introduction. But if I tell the people, I know so the fans know your face, I know your voice. But ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Richard Blackford from Sunday Scoops, all right? Normally roll up here with security, Big G. You know what I mean? But
Big G have a date.
So you roll into the hood by yourself today.
I'm by myself. So he put in a word for your Big G, you know? I put in a word for the Yard Media crew as well, you know? Because without... It's teamwork make the dream work. And,
I love it.
We work as a team, and you have to give them on them that. Big up Magic, big up my son Nicholas, big up Judy, and most definitely big up the great Big G.
Cool, man.
You know, respect all the time.
Let's get into the history vibe now. Let's get into the history.
Yo, first of all, let me just make something clear to people outside who may not even know this. Mm-hmm. Jamaica is one of the few countries among a handful of countries in this entire globe that has managed to do this, to export its culture around the world,
right?
Influence the rest of the world with its culture without firing a single shot.
Wow!
Right?
Wow. No conquistadors over there, just straight culture.
It is very important that we understand that.
Right.
We have a culture that is vibrant. Forget about the issues and the things that are going on in Jamaica.
Because we ain't selling that.
There you go. What we are selling is the culture, the vibes that come from the people.
Right.
Why you have such a massive audience and following? Because it's the vibes, and that vibes is a part of your own, how the culture backyard influence your own development, and you transport that here, and you're part of the exporting process,
Right.
Remember that, because people are listening to you all over the world, right? So the one facet of the culture, a massive facet of the Jamaican culture, is the music. Right. We take it for granted that the music just dead there and we don't have to do nothing about it. But for a small place like this, Jamaica have a population about 2.9. Just round it up generously and say 3 million.
Living in the island.
Yeah, living on the island. And maybe another 2 or so. We can be generous. Another 3 million in the diaspora. Right? For a country that small size, we have given to the world 8 genres of music. Right? That is not something to take lightly.
Especially when you think of the size of the island.
Absolutely. The African diaspora is about 140 million. So when we hear the argument about the Afro beats and so on, you understand what helped drive that is the size of the diaspora. But remember, you look at the population on the continent of Africa, and it's a whole different ball game again. But the diaspora,
like half the
world, almost half of the world's population.
Yep.
But Jamaica, with 3 million people, have managed to touch almost every single country around the world with its music, the musical component of its culture.
Right.
A problem that we have, though, amongst Jamaicans is that we sort of tend to think that we talk about the genres of music that, ska stop and then rock steady come in and ray. Some people don't know that Naya Bingi music is a genre of music. Right? Some people don't recognize that, when we talk about the Naya Bingi thing, we're not just talk about culture and burning spear. You go back to the days when Prince Buster put out the tune O Carolina. That's a Naya Bingi tune. The first festival song is a Naya Bingi tune. Bam Bam is a Naya Bingi tune. And so it tell you about the impact and the influence of Rasta in the culture, right? And so we tend to take all of these things for granted because it is in front of us, it's there, and especially the people who are charged with the responsibility to provide the guardrails for this culture. That is what makes this whole festival discussion so egregious. Because what are we carrying on about in terms of the culture? The festival song contest. And a lot of people will get up and say, but festival song thing redundant now and all of that. And that's the question. Is it?
Is it?
Really?
Yeah.
Festival and the concept of festival is a very integral part of how you marshal the attitudes of the people within your population. Right? So a integral part of any festival celebrations has to be the music. The music is the spearhead of the feel good component that brings all of the people together. So music is very important. As to the contest, Jamaican music was built over the years out of this contest environment. If you go back to...
Not just artists that were considered festival artists.
No.
We're talking about musicians, period.
Musician, period.
Right.
So let's go back. In 1957, we had the Virgin's Opportunity Award. And it's very important that people understand these things. Because what Virgin's was, this is a little man who born in Jamaica, and I think come from Manchester, Mandeville, that side there. And him born around in the 30s, and he went to war. You know, Jamaica was a colony, so him go fight, enlist in the war, the Second World War. But at the end of the war, he came back to Jamaica, and he started to work with the Gleaner as a you know, a features man, you know, create programs and so on. And he devised these what we call talent contests. He had a little program on RJR at the time. In fact, it was probably ZQI radio, which was what RJR was. And what he did is the winners of his talent series would get to come on his show on the radio. Mm-hmm. These talent shows were offered at halftime. You know, when you go to the cinemas like Rialto and Palace and Gaiety and Majestic, Ambassador Theatre, all of these Palace cinemas, them show a double bill on a Wednesday night or a Saturday night. When the first show done, the talent contest kick off. And it run for maybe half an hour. A man come and you have singers, you have dancers and so on. And the audience provide the vote. Right. Out of these singing contests, the winners, the pool of winners start to become the recording artists, because it coincided with the business of recording the voices of. In fact, in the 1950s, the Gleaner promoted a contest of having people record them voices. So if you have a little nursery rhyme and thing, you go down a Stanley Motor up on King Street at the time, and you record the thing. And over time that grow. And so with all of these talent contests, that now the singers start to say, well, this is an opportunity to go make a record. Right. And then record them voice on a soft wax. One of the earlier pieces would have been somebody like Derek Harriott, who do him first big tune, a tune named Lollipop Girl, and him sell it to Thunderbird sound system for Walton Park. And it just changed the dynamics, because prior to that, man play music where them bring from foreign. Right. You know, the blues and R&B and thing. But the long story short, it is these talent contests that identify a lot of our talent. So the Alton Ellis, the John Holtz, the Bob Andy, the Delroy Wilson, Dennis Brown, and I could go on and on, Marcia Griffiths. Right. It was these talent contests that identified them.
And for clarification, these talent contests that we speak of, they may not necessarily have been the festival competition.
No, they weren't.
But talent contests nonetheless.
No, absolutely. No, right. The festival competition was started in 60. It was conceptualized in 65 and implemented in 66. Because by 1965, we would have been 3 years old as an independent country. And things now go so good. And people get disillusioned about this whole independence thing, and we're independent but not now go on. And so the government of the day set up this festival song contest, because you always had a festival of arts thing, which was always a part of the fabric of Jamaican culture from as far back as 57, 58. Right. So the festival concept wasn't what was new then was the festival song, because even prior to that, you used to have a mentor song contest, right? And so then bring in the festival contest now with 66, and as we say, Toots win.
Let me ask you this, because I think sometimes we got to bring these people to a place of understanding. Festival, one, it's not synonymous with Jamaica. Never started in Jamaica.
No, absolutely.
The concept of festivals is a patriotic thing.
Right.
You mentioned something very early on in our conversation, which was pretty much that Jamaica offered so many things to the world without firing a single shot, right? Majority of these countries out here, they're way uber patriotic, just like we are. They just show it in a different way.
Absolutely.
Right? We have our 4th of July. We got, for them, patriotism might be going to another country and conquering it. You know what I mean? And stuff like that. We have our own patriotism, which is rooted in our music.
Absolutely.
Let's talk festival. Even forget the Jamaica Festival competition right about now. Talk to the massive a little bit about the origins of festivals and kind of give them an insight into exactly what festival means. Because some people see it as put on some Miss Lou garb and some black, green, and gold and go out there and try to relive the past. Let's talk festival.
And you make that point about the put on the Miss Lou garb and so on and so forth, which is an integral part. Because one of the things about because the festival is at that point where you are highlighting aspects of your culture that is you're able to highlight using these presentations, whether they're musical, speech presentations, dance, etc., etc. And so I want to go back and tell you that, as I said earlier, prior to the festival song contest, we had a festival where we can't remember the exact term. It was Premier Norman Manley at the time was the one who actually created this national festival of arts and whatever it was. It was National Festival of Arts and something else. And
not just music.
Not just music. The music was a part of the
Right,
thing.
right.
But it dealt with dance, it dealt with speech, it dealt with... In fact, remember when Louise Bennett just come through the gate, and she come with this, them used to refer to her as the bad talking woman, right? And so what she was... she made entrenched the whole concept of the Jamaican dialect, where we call some
Patois thing.
People turn up their nose and say patois, but it was the dialect, and so she was promoting that aspect of the culture, and then beyond that you had the culinary sides, right? And so when to bring all of this together within that festival environment, it's a celebration. One, it's a celebration, a program of organized activities to celebrate the achievements of the country in these areas of dance and theater and music. And remember, at the time, the music, what was the popular music at the time would have been mento music, or what we call dukunu music, or folk music, right? And so over the years, these festivals were executed to raise the vibes within the country. In 66, it became more critical because we had taken the route of going independent, and there was a point at which basically people look around and say, "Well, we're independent, and we have nothing to show for it." It was so this was a response by the government of the day to try to change the vibes within the country then.
Right.
And the popular music festival, or the festival song contest, was designed to create the kind of music that harks back to aspects of a culture. So if it's mento, if it's whatever it is that was the musical vibe at the time, the songs were going to be reflective of that, and but it was designed to lift your spirit. So that has always been the benchmark, and more importantly, those contests were largely geared at the amateurs, and again, our music was still young, 1966.
Right.
We wouldn't have been involved in making music in a meaningful way for more than about 12, 14 years before that. So most of the performers would have been amateurs. Toots and the Maytals would have been them just a little bit above being an amateur. But the contests were geared around those, and the whole idea behind that is the thing now becomes an annual event, so we hammer it down to a date. We became independent on August 6th, so let's celebrate our independence, and the festival movement is designed around the independence period.
Right.
Because you literally tie the festival to the Independence Day. So the way how we celebrate independence is with the festival.
Right.
And we move away. The festival celebrations for independence is not exclusive to music, but it also appends to other aspects of the culture, because during that festival week, if you will, you have other events that is highlighting different aspects of the culture. In fact, as a youngster, I just left high school in 76. I entered the literary festival. I've won a gold and a silver medal as a writer. Right. And so all of this is celebrated around this time during this festive period. But the whole idea is to raise the spirits of the people.
Right.
And I would say from a it depends heavily on the nostalgia, because it forces you to look back at what your traditions are. And that is why a lot of these traditional songs are so embedded into this aspect of the culture. Now, there's nothing that says we have to stay there.
Right.
But by establishing something like a Jamaica Cultural Development Commission, what you're now doing is you're creating a sort of a structure around how we now manage and deliver these cultural celebrations. We're providing a custodian for the culture of the country, and I hope I've answered the question.
No, you have, and listen, I think it's very important. That's why I really wanted to sit back here and get it from you myself in terms of the history, because again, that's a word that sometimes we don't appreciate enough. We go into the conversations. Majority of the people who are involved in the conversations don't know the history, and some of the people who are involved know the history and they're ignoring the history. So before we go into the meat and potatoes of today, I think it was very important that you kind of lay down that foundation. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that I appreciate. We talk about why. It's always a why, and I think it's an important thing to always ask why. I had a conversation today, and I see it as this. When it comes to the value of our festivals, competition, the festival itself, and our culture, I think we only think of what we export to foreigners, for gain. So we'll focus heavily on tourism because we export that to foreigners, right? If a bauxite or whatever, we export it to foreigners. The festival song competition, the festival, that's something that we export to us, the diaspora, right? So that's for us at home, the nationals, and the diaspora. We're not ignoring about it. If you want to love it and enjoy it as an outsider, great. But it is something created for us. Do you think in any way, shape, or form there's any attachment to the devaluing of it because of the fact that it's something for us and not something that we're creating for somebody else?
That's a very interesting question. And in fact, I must be honest with you that I not looked at that. I think the devaluation of the whole culture and festival in particular is a combination of different factors. I wouldn't say that it is something that is done deliberately, but certainly it has become a victim of certain socio and economic, and to a lesser extent, political developments within the country. One of the, I'll give you a little simile. My father and I never got along, and as a young adult in my mid-30s, I kind of slighted him because I always thought with my educated self that he didn't do enough for us as his kids, right? And so I spent a lot of those years not having an interaction. And then he got sick. And when he got sick, I'm in business in Jamaica, and business things were rough. You cut and trust and this thing. And I wouldn't mend the fences. I mean, just give it this so you get perspective. And then he died. And my mother just said to me, "You're going to have to do the eulogy." Just that.
You weren't prepared for that.
I wasn't prepared for that.
Right.
And so for the first time, it forced me to take a look at the relationship with my father. And then I realized that what I was doing is assessing my old man based on my educated self.
Right.
And so the minute I disabused myself of that, I realized that what he was doing was trying to raise his family in the way he knew how.
The best way.
Because that's what this is the best way he knew how.
Right.
And that's what he was doing.
Right.
He never loved us, any one child more or less than the other. And he was committed in his own way. He had his weaknesses.
Right.
append that to the conversation we're having. It's a thing with our culture, and especially in this the current topic, the festival thing. A lot of educated Jamaicans tend to think that, we have now become enlightened and we don't need to do those things anymore, right? And so we turn up our nose at, the concept of these festival songs and what's the necessity for it. Because in our own world that we live in, we are doing a lot better than our parents were.
Right.
And so these elements are almost waste of resources and waste of time.
Right.
And that's because we're looking at the thing from our educated selves. We're not, and how educated are you if you don't have any idea, any concept of the value of your culture?
That's a sketchy education too, because based on what you're saying there right now is that if we talk education and the different things that we're educated in, if somebody feels that way about the history, about the nation, then it means along your whole acquiring all this education, the part that you didn't acquire or you lost was history.
Absolutely. But Marcus Garvey said it. A man who has no knowledge of his history, regardless of what your exposure is, or the degree or the extent of it, you're twice defeated in the race of life.
Right.
And so a lot of, I have heard, discussions over the last week and a half that this whole imbroglio breakout of people who are saying we should have just do it with this damn festival song thing because it don't have no value anymore.
Right.
And I'm saying, how do you...
Well, let me ask you this. Before we talk about the value of it right now, because the word you used earlier was anymore, right? Let's talk about the value of it previously. Not as far back as, it being very recent post-independence, and we needed to uplift. So let's go 10, 15 years after that now. I'm a 80s baby, right? And as much as the 80s are years removed from the day of independence, or the year of independence, I still look forward to, enjoyed, and that was culture for me, right? Just like how we're looking forward to Sumfest and Sunsplash and all the other things that happen, right? And summer and Easter and Christmas. We also looked forward to
Festival,
right? So now we're 2022. What happened between then and now? Because I don't want people to mistake hearing what we're saying and thinking that, oh, well, after a couple of years of doing it, people were already on the fence about the value of it, because the value was there even up to I was a teenager, a young adult.
The value is still there.
The value, but is it there for the masses, or is it just there for the people who are nostalgic and holding on to something like myself? I'm not afraid to say, yo, I'm a nostalgic guy. You know what I mean? I want to see John Kunuto. Me want to see all of them things. I'm not done with it. People like, yo, you know what I mean? Them done it. No, I'm not. And it's the same thing with the festival vibe.
True.
So is it straight up nostalgia, or have we actually lost something?
We have not. Well, let me rephrase my answer. I think the response is a function of who is having the conversation. Where this particular set of Jamaicans are based. Salted are Jamaicans, and that is more than 70% of the population of Jamaica. These celebrations are very important to them. Right. It is part of how they connect with their own national identity, right?
Especially if you're outside of Jamaica.
It's worse when you're outside of Jamaica. But the Jamaicans at home are just as involved. For them, these celebrations are important. What a lot of Jamaicans at home complain about is the quality of what is presented as a celebratory offering, right? So they're saying the thing important. We look forward to this thing. There are aspects of how we interact with and celebrate festival, right? And just like Christmas, or when Christmas done, we fold up the Christmas tree, or we take down the balloon them and the decoration, and we wait for the next Christmas. It's the same principle that is applied with festival.
But we're doing it every Christmas,
right?
though.
Yeah?
But we're doing it every Christmas.
And we do the same thing within Jamaican homes generally. People see the same thing with festival. But they need that motivation And so that is why this whole concept of festival, or if you want to call it popular song, because we sold that to our people in that period between 66 coming forward, that an aspect of, an integral part of the whole festival celebration is the festival song. So even though we had succeeded in calling it after a while a popular song contest,
Right.
Jamaicans relate to it as the festival song.
Yeah.
And so whether the song say festival or not, right? It don't matter.
Why did they rename it?
Why did?
Why did they change it from the festival song?
That's an excellent question. I think that was part of an attempt to try to deal with this dissipation. Well, in terms of the festival song, the feeling was that the song, after festival done, nobody is playing the festival song.
Yeah.
But the reason why the festival song is not being played anymore is that there's no incentive to the selectors or the people in radio. What drives your festival, the festival activities and the festive feel that should surround the season is how radio deals with the celebration.
Right.
A lot of people who are in radio now, and radio in Jamaica in particular. I come from a time when radio in Jamaica only had 2 radio stations. I think we have about 45,000 radio stations
I'm
now,
counting.
right? And so I hear a guy, because I was on this press conference this weekend with the JCDC thing,
Right.
and I remember one of the media guys who was on it, he basically put it on the table that what is the incentive for him to play a festival song?
Right.
Him say a song is as basically 3 minutes, and in 3 minutes he could run 6 advertising, right?
Wow.
Right? Do I need to go any further?
Nah. So pretty much our patriotism is for sale. So our cultural, yeah. So
No, the point to be made is to transform this thing, to get that ethos back in the festivities. The dependence is going to have to be on radio.
Yeah.
And if people who are in radio can't see themselves as, going out of their way to support the culture.
Because it's a business. Radio's a business.
True, but there has to be a point at which, without this vibe, the spirit of the country,
Right.
is celebrated within this festival period.
And that is priceless.
That's exactly it. And so if you are a radio practitioner and all you can see is there's nothing in it for me to play this song, or in order for me to play this song, I have to be compensated for my airtime.
Hence my comment about the fact that the patriotism is for sale. But there's 2 things there, no. One is this, that the wheels have to keep turning, yes. We have to pay for the light and all them things. So that means that there's some investment that needs to go into radio and those festival songs being played. And the reason why I have no problem at any point in time saying, find the money somewhere is because if we get far enough in the Miss World pageant, we'll find the money for do what we need to do.
But I'm glad you mentioned that too, because here is the thing. In fact, I thought that the comment was a dunce comment.
I wasn't feeling it because I watched it after. I was done it live.
Yeah,
but I
watched
feel
it. If it was a different type of forum, I would have addressed that with the individual, because it's a dunce comment, and here is why. There are key moments in the life of a country where it becomes important that you fall in line with the event, because the more support the event gets, and you as a broadcaster is putting in your contribution, what you are doing is building your own listenership. The fact that you have a committed listenership means that you make your business and your program that you have more viable. So in other words, advertisers want to be on your program because you have that listenership. So to be looking at this thing in the simplistic terms that I'm going to play a song for 3 minutes when I could have played 6 advertising,
right?
It's juvenile. and
it's a hustle mentality.
It feeds into that hustle mentality because it is people like those, in my opinion. I'm not afraid to say it. I don't care who come out. I'm big about it, nothing. This is how this whole payola thing coming. Because if a man ain't pay me, not play your music.
Now, when I heard that comment, that's what I thought. And I thought, wow, brazen. Because, you know, right now we're on this forum with a million eyes, right? People deny the concept of payola on a daily.
Well, so this man said, you can go back and play.
But that's what I'm saying, is that when he said it, that's what I thought to him. I was like, oh, okay, so you're right now. You're admitting the fact that is pay, you get paid
to play the music.
Now, we talk about radio, right? And we talk about the festival songs. Let's jump in the rear view mirror one more time. 60s, 70s, 80s. And I can start in the 80s one because I'm listening to radio. The festival songs, if even only for festival time, was being played on the radio a lot. Now, people talk about festival songs in terms of the content of the songs that make them festival songs. But truth be told, the Bam Bams and many other songs in the world, some stuff by quite a few other artists, they were just regular songs, and the instrumentation have a festival vibe. I did a show when I was saying, you know, certain songs require certain things. Christmas songs require bells for it to be a Christmas song. If it's not in there, to me, it ain't, right? So, but those songs were able to stay on radio and stand the test of time because they weren't, to me, I don't even want to call them festival songs. They just happened to be hits during that period, during festival time. True that. So how important is it right now for us to get that out of our mindset? Because I do think that when I listen to the conversation, that comes up a lot, what a festival song is. And I don't think the JCDC have done a great job of explaining, especially to the contestants, what exactly a festival song is.
That's an interesting point. To your, let me take the argument first though of the whole concept of the festival song, because implicit in that is a whole set of activities that is really what helped to create the atmosphere and drive that atmosphere towards festival. So we are now in June, and typically back in the day when you have a festival song, the first thing you reach out to the public for entrance, and people come with them piece of paper with them song right on it, and you have an audition. An audition, maybe a live audition in front of an audience of, a set of judges who go and listen to your presentation. They don't come in and finish song.
And this is how it was.
This is a thing. And so them come and them have a song. A man write a song upon a little piece of book leaf, and him come and him stand up in front of you. And so what you're listening for as a song is if it is satisfying all of the elements that you're looking for, that you put out there, anything.
Right.
And so you may do 5 or 6 of these auditions, and out of these you're gonna select 20 songs, the 20 best thing. And so when you take those 20 best songs now, the 20 best compositions that you heard, you then turn to the production people, the Coxsons, the Joe Gibbs, the Prince Buster, and so on. And I'm just going back to those early days. Derek Harriott, whoever. And you say, all right, guys, we have them man produce them thing and the material, and we like them 15 songs.
Right.
So here what we want to do. Let's build a rhythm around them tune, around them composition. Let's sit down with the composer or whatever, and we'll rework the lyrics, right? Because that's how the thing used to be, you know.
So people were not being asked to show up submitting already produced, written, recorded, ready for radio.
In those days, no.
ISRs, and I'm extra with it right about now. Yeah. Laden code songs. In those days, no.
No.
Do you know if this officially changed? And when I say officially, I mean...
Well, I'm from what I gathered listening, because I'm on the press conference on Saturday, and that is what was said. They asked for the entrance to produce virtually radio-ready song, play-ready song. You need to come with a composition that has been a produced piece of music, right? Or produced song entry. Now, in my opinion, implicit in that is the road to the disaster that we currently have, right?
You have to have a budget now.
Because the first thing we need to appreciate is that Jamaica is a poor people country.
Yeah.
The people who make music in a Jamaica, don't forget about Shaggy and Sean Paul and them, because them are the exceptions to the rule. The typical artist in Jamaica is a youth who try a thing, or a, man or woman, try a thing. If them could have find $200,000-$300,000 for going to the studio for a record a song, right? Chances are them not going to do this thing because it's only X amount of songs going to go all the way.
Yeah.
And so to tell me that you get 123 people who have done that, what has transpired represent a significant disservice and disregard to the paucity of the resources that of these people who spend their money and go create this piece of music that we have turned around based on what was represented thing and say them tuning already, right?
Yeah.
So you see the disconnect between what transpired back in the day
And now
versus where we are. So I raise a question to the group. Is the competition an amateur competition or is it a professional competition? And there was a struggle to answer the question, right?
was it even answered?
No, I'm glad you remember that because there was a mumbling. There was a sort of a push forward that seemed to suggest that we would prefer professional people coming at the thing,
Right.
and if that is where they want to go, that is what is killing the whole thing behind the festival because.
Right.
The whole concept of the festival song back in the day, or the popular song, because it really became a popular song. It's over the last 5-7 years since this new administration that they have gone back to this concept of festival song. Because prior to that it was popular song. And it was a popular song because the intention was that the song would have survived festival and be played throughout the year.
Which made sense.
Right? And thing. And I have no problem at all with that. But, the other thing to it is that it fed the narrative that we're trying to bring people who would not normally have had the opportunity for the exposure. You bring them into the music business, right? And it worked because people like a Roy Rayan, and we can call all of the names that the whole festival thing has developed. Mr. Festival, Eric Donaldson, right? Come through the ranks and thing. Because outside nobody knew him. Right? And so they were not required to come through with any prepared piece of music, no produced song. The system provided the support to help them to produce those songs.
Right.
And in my opinion, I'm saying to you, and I put it out there, I don't care again, nobody want to vex with me about it. But in that regard, the JCDC is doing the country a disservice.
Because you're alienating a bag of people.
Alienate poor people from participating.
But isn't that when we think of Jamaica right about now? Because we complain about Jamaica has always been a place of classism, It's almost like no matter what that's why people, when they come to the music, always say, hey, the government need to do this and do that. But a lot of time, once it gets to that point, you realize that it might be a bad thing. Because once they get into it, then classism creeps in, and not only that, but things like these where whether it's intentional or not, you start alienating alienate people, and automatically once you start alienation of poor people normally get it.
Poor people get
right?
Shit out of the end of the stick.
No, it's which is not cool. No. The word you used or the question you asked is something that I've been having a conversation with over the past couple of days too, which is the whole professional. That's why I mentioned to you, I said, what exactly is professional? Because in my eyes, when we talk about professional versus amateur, the only difference between the professional and the amateur to me is the song. It's not the artist, the popularity of the song, because you have enough professional we can't sing. Right? So
that's a point. That's true.
Song boss.
Yeah.
If you record a song today and it's your very first song, and the song take off and gone places, I end up on all of the big stage. Probably not even reach a big stage yet, but you're booked for that show. I end up on a show with Barry, so I do it for 50 years, right? I'm just a true arbitrary numbers out, right? Is Barry a professional? You're an amateur? No, he's not. it's based on that song. So when they talk about is it for amateurs versus professionals, that's something that always gets me. Where's the line for you? What exactly do you call?
I think for them the whole concept, and again, I'm just, this is my interpretation based on the conversations that were held, and I have to be honest with you, before I address that, I I'm just reflecting on the composition of the panel of professional music people, production people,
Right.
who adjudicated this whole process. Donovan Jermaine, Freddie McGregor, a man with more than almost 50 years in the business. Who else was there?
Gussie Clark.
And who else was there? We're from Stevie
Brownie.
and Clevie.
Cleveland Brown.
Cleveland Brown, right.
Right.
Somebody else was there too.
Alien, who's a singer.
Yeah. But let me leave her out
Right.
for the time. I just focus on these guys. Because they're the behind the scenes.
Well tenured, yeah.
Yeah, them in the thing and them have the tenure. And so, most of these guys would have gained their spurs coming out of the environment that the program was created out of.
Yep.
Right? The one thing that is consistent with Jamaica music in terms of its history is that the music was always being made by people downtown.
Right.
Right? Greenwich Farm, Rockfort, Trenchtown. The music never only come from Trenchtown. It come from everywhere down there, so, right? And most of those people are salt of the earth people. And so, it is an unreasonable expectation for me, from where I sit, to expect that these people are going to be able to find the resources to professionally produce a song as an entry into a competition, for which there's no guarantee that they're going to be able to realize any return for the investment that they make. In any event, we are in an environment in Jamaica. We have more studio in Jamaica now for make music than we have musicians for make music in the studios. Right? A lot of people can find a little money and they can put up a studio and can, thing. And they too contribute to the unprofessionalism, because a lot of these studios, they mix music and the music off key, and them, because them now have the grounding,
Hustle.
but them a hustle and them a collect the people their money too. And so I just find it a little bit preposterous, because when we ask a question, remember them say 123 songs and there's only one song that them could have find, right?
Two.
No, one.
They start off saying one?
One. And then them say they went back, and look back upon the pilot thing, and then eventually came up with another two. Me remember that like as clear as a bell.
Which this is what they said on the panel.
Yes.
Which was not what was originally said in her thing.
No, that was in Parliament. Them said one song.
Yeah.
And then them find another one.
Yep.
But
Yeah.
the discussion on Saturday spoke to it spoke to a single song, and then on a re-look and identification of two other songs. Now, you can't tell me at my age, born in a country that has given 8 genres of music to the world, right? That has influenced not only, apart from the 8 genres, we have influenced hip-hop music here in the United States, reggaeton here in the United States. We have contributed to the rebirth of Afrobeats, because Afrobeat was there long time.
Yep.
And in the 70s, Afrobeats get its first bus, and then the new rendition in, I think, late 1990s into 2000. But it was us who contributed to that. So technically, we can make claim to another 3 genres, if you will, of music that we have contributed to. Now, you look back and you see some of the biggest wordsmiths in the world come from Jamaica. When you look on where the song of the Banana Man,
Right.
Miss Lou,
Yeah.
you look at the lyricists like a Bob Man. How do you tell me a country that has produced the kind of music, the catalog of music that a Marley, a Dennis Brown catalog, and we can go go back to the days of Coxsone, go back to go back to John Holt in the 60s. John Holt wrote some 13 number one songs for the Paragons, right? This is a man who have no training in the music, right? And so a country that has laid down this track record, you're telling me that same country in 2022 can produce 10 entries for a festival song competition. If you really expect me to believe that, sell me a bridge.
Well, that's the reason why I was like, what exactly do I mean when I say inferior? Because the word used, I said it was poor. The quality was poor. But here's the other thing, though. And again, devil's advocate, had to have this convo. Forget about Marley, right? Forget about D. Brown. Forget about John Holt. Let's stick with the last decade. Let's stick with the last 20 years, right? Decade or two. We've also produced some great stuff.
We produce some crap too.
And we produce some, but crap I make long time.
True that.
Right? It's just that a lot of the crap never get through. Like right now, because like you said, you can push it to yourself right now, right?
Absolutely.
But the thing is, over the last couple of years, some phenomenal stuff have been created from a lyrical standpoint, right? Now, when we talk about production and what's quality, I think that's where the line comes in the sand, because people like a Freddie and those guys, quality to them, and I'm caught up in it too because my background is live instrumentation. So when I hear live instrumentation versus synthesized instrumentation, I start drawing words like quality. And then it goes back to the metrics we are talking about, the money part of it now. What's going to make the difference between quality or not now is going to be the mix and the master, where the money come up into play. Right. All right? So let's talk a little bit about quality. When them say quality, because one gentleman was on a chat that I was on, and he mentioned that he submitted a demo, which is why now I'm saying to myself, okay, so I guess there was a lot of people who didn't know that you can't submit a demo. That's why I asked earlier, are the rules set out and laid out? And I don't think everybody was aware of it.
So again, another excellent question. The rules weren't clear enough. In spite of the fact that because the guy who's the chairman of JCDC, he basically chaired the press conference, and he read a sub-segment of the set of rules per se. But they talked about when I raised a question about production, that's when the discussion, the argument about a produced entry, and my brain tell me that don't make any sense, right? Because here's the problem that JCDC and the whole festival thing for Jamaica in 2022 is faced with. We know that 2022 is coming, and that 2022 is the Diamond Jubilee of the countries.
So we've known this for 60 years?
We know this for 60 years. Right?
Right.
Or if you want to be a little more judicious, we knew at least 5 years ago that this is going to come. And so we want to make a statement. It's an opportunity to make a statement. The people who are responsible for marshalling our culture drop the ball. I'm not afraid to tell that.
In no uncertain terms.
Right?
Yeah.
Because if the objective was to make a statement, we can't be now just defining what we want to do in June or January of 2022.
Right.
We should have made those decisions 2-3 years ago.
Right. And make it known to the masses.
And implicit in that is that you're gonna now transmit this information to the masses. So if the whatever JCDC had been doing over the years, for the last 2 to 3 years, regardless of COVID, whatever it is, you need to be on your A++ game. Right? You have the resources, the budgets, the access to all of the media houses to be able to communicate effectively to all and sundry in your population. If our objective is to make this thing special, you need to utilize the thing in front of you and talk to the public. You need to organize. Don't tell me about COVID and all that. From last year, we should have been doing these auditions. You don't need nobody to come to the thing with no production ready, produced material.
But that means that they're not auditioning people. See, that's the thing is that you're thinking about it from the concept of an audition. Based on what's being said, it is no audition. It's professional recordings they want.
But you can't listen. The fact is that you failed to communicate
to the masses
effectively to the masses
because they would not have submitted demos and acapellas and this and that had they known
that because it wasn't communicated properly.
Yeah.
And even then, the presumption that you make as somebody who is participating in the music at this level. We live in an environment where we have access to American Idol and X Factor and the America's Got Talent and so on and so forth. Prior to those competitions reaching the point where they're on television, they have auditions.
Yeah.
Right?
A long period of time before that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So you can decide that you want a batsman to stand up at your wicket and bat and make 200-300 runs, but you never give him an opportunity to get some net session. So him get a chance.
But even rising stars have auditions long
that's
before
what I'm saying
that.
to you. Every one of these competitions that are out there, in the old days with the Virgins thing and the other little competitions, the youth them know that them need to make some preparation before them go up on the stage. So at evening time them come from school, them in them yard or under the street light, and them learn how to practice how to do for the backup singer, backup the main vocalist, that kind of thing. Because they knew that this is a requirement of the thing, right? And so you can't tell me that an agency that is responsible for the guardrails of our culture and the music, which is a critical part of this culture of ours.
On the 60th.
And on our 60th independence,
the Diamond Jubilee.
You have not provided those. Typically, what happened with the JCDC is that they have workshops for these upcoming artists, and so at some point, as I said, somebody dropped the ball. I am wondering, is it a case you're not on money? If you're not on money, well, say so, right? And even then, if something had happened and we needed to find $10 billion for address that thing, what would I do?
Yeah, fine.
Your culture is important enough for you to put in that investment and set up the thing.
So we talk importance. You just mentioned if the culture is important enough, then it lends to make you start thinking about or asking the question of motive and intent, right? So, and by that I mean no conspiracy theory, but if my intent is to showcase the best on this monumental occasion that's around the corner, right? Then I am going to do whatever. Because again, we send our athletes go to run when they know how to place. But if they start doing well, all of a sudden we find the money, right?
Absolutely.
We don't know when the royal family is coming to town, but if they do decide to come to town, we find the money.
Absolutely.
Right? So let's talk about motive intent. I feel like this, especially when I look at the panel, and the panel comprises 3 of our top producers, not this year, yet last year, but from now till probably 30, 40 years, right? And then we have our Freddie, who that's legendary even longer, right? We have Alian, who is making hits right now, today. So the panel comprises of, intellectually, people who can make this happen.
True.
So if my motive, my intent is to make sure that this happens, and I get sent over to me a barrage of songs that, according to our checks and balances, don't meet it, right? Which right now, when you get regular songs for radio, it don't meet it more time, right? And I'll tell an artist, yo, this one mix, this one master, and sometime I'm gonna do it and come back. If you've got the guys who are mixing and mastering, if you've got the guys who are making majority of the hits over the last 40 years, and the people who are still making it right now, if the intent, and I'm repeating this over and over, is to get the stuff out there, then why, instead of rejecting, why not do what it takes to make it the work, the already what I deem quality work, ready for presentation? Even the guy that sent over the demo, when I listen to his song, content-wise, swag-wise, in my mind, it is as festival as it comes. The songs of Me Love from the festival years, it give me that vibe there. So if I am a man with the resources, right, then why am I not say, you know something, Jano, come down to the studio. Even if I have a bill it to JCDC at a discounted rate. So it brings you the question of motive and intent.
You see, when you represent it like that, G. Cole, it's almost, it opens the door towards conspiracy theories, right? But I'm not going to go down that road. I'm going to say that we have conversations that are designed as public representations, right? But beyond the public representation, there's no actual activity that's going to support that. This is a classic case of what has been played out over the last couple of days, right? Again, let me go back. We knew that 2022 would have been our Diamond Festival, Independence celebration or Jubilee celebration. We knew. We knew this from 1962. Let's bring it forward. We knew this 10 years ago when we had the 2012. And so by 2018, we also knew that in 4 years' time, we're going to be here. Here's an opportunity, because if you go back to what happened in 2012, we had some issues too, if you remember. Right? Our problem in Jamaica is that you have a lot of grandstanding. And I am not afraid to say that a lot of what transpired this past weekend, both beginning with the announcement in Parliament, that's grandstanding, right? Because I am of the view, I find it very difficult to believe that these people were serious about producing a festival song competition in the first place.
Motive intent.
Right? Because what played out in terms of how the issues were administered, it doesn't support that there was any serious effort at producing a contest.
So to make sure I understand where we're looking at right now, because again, this comes up in the conversation too. Right now, the option is they're going to put on an album, right? A compilation album of their best and finest. They've already dropped some names. Shaggy, right? Them drop Freddie. Then drop Abagada, right? Which we kind of already thought that it was going to be that once they started mentioning albums. And then, of course, they're going to take two of those songs. Three songs from the trash pile. Yeah, from the pile that they did say was trash from morning. Then I'll put on it now.
I want to go back. I want to revisit the argument about the trash pile.
Right.
Because I am not one who did buy this whole thing in the first instance. Because I refuse to believe, as a Jamaican who grew up in a period when the music have a nappy, right? Me watch it grow from nappy stage and crawl stage to which part of it, right? You remember when Bob Marley, everybody look upon Bob Marley, dirty Rasta boy, right?
Yeah.
Because me remember that, clear as a bell. So I find it difficult to accept that a country that has done all of this can't find things. So I went back. In fact, today I replayed the press conference. And when you replay the press conference and you hear some attempts to sort of mollify positions in terms of the content of, the quality of what was presented. And so in the representations that was coming out, you realize now some of the disqualification components were about, as you said, the man who submit a demo tape. Or
a cappella.
Where people submit a cappella is a contest, right?
Right.
And so if you're saying, you're not saying that the lyric, there was representation and some of the songs and lyrics and the structure were great and so, but them never mixed properly. That can't be the basis on which you deprive an entry. It's either the thing, because you remember, select some songs. The fine-tuning of the song is going to come after you select them. Right? And so, I go back to listening to Leroy Sibbles talk about artists come on a Sunday morning or a Coxon under the mango tree in a Brentford Road, and them come with a little piece of book leaf with couple line of a song, and him carry them in and say, all right, give me a tune that you would sing the song in, right? And the man him hum the thing and him say, okay, and Jackie me too, build a rhythm, same time out of that. And within another couple of days, them take back the same book leaf thing and them structure it into a proper song. Right. Peter Tosh is noted. Right. Sly Dunbar tell me that. That Peter Tosh noted for come at the studio and him have 4 lines of a song. Yeah. Right? The song him going to sing a 4 lines there on it. And at them in the studio have a thing and them work with him and create the song and the song is a big hit. Right?
Right.
That is the characteristic of how music is made in Jamaica. And you cannot to fight tradition and culture is tantamount to pushing water up Mount Vesuvius. Right? What we have done over the years is that we are trying to reorient the approach to this whole festival thing, and you talk about professionalizing. I hear the minister in the last part of the thing, when it's wrap up, talking about this album, and the album should, at the end of the production of it, we should be able to enter this thing into the Grammys. To win a Grammy. Yeah. What we're doing is that we're not. It says that kind of representation demonstrates a disconnect between what we should be saying about ourselves and the reasons why we're doing this thing. It don't matter that the music could win a Grammy, yes or no. What we need to be doing is creating recorded output for our population first. Right. We want a song that Jamaicans will sing at any time of the year. People don't just sing "This Is the Land of My Birth" during festival.
Right. Draw that anytime they dance.
People draw that song because the song is a great song, right? And the objective must always be, in my opinion, to be able to create songs that are as great as that song. Right. And whatever we need to provide to the population to be able to deliver that quality, that is our responsibility. Right.
And that's why I mentioned the whole concept to me of, again, motive intent, because when you talk about recorded music and trying to record music and submit for Grammys and all these things, that sound predisposed to me. And I'm sorry, I am remiss to think that all of this stuff came up this close to now, after going through the whole pile and saying we cannot come up with 10 out of 123, but in 2 months we're gonna come up with
a big album that we can use to go win Grammy.
That we can go use for go win Grammy. So it lends the whole concept of motive intent.
That was a plan.
It sounds salmon, fishy, sardine, mackerel, fishy, right?
It sound like a ocean.
It sound very tin mackerel. So that's my thing where I don't like it.
It's very difficult to
see it.
Yeah, I'm not a conspiracy kind of person, but you put it like that because the first thing for me is that we fail our people, and we constantly fail. And here's the thing: we keep talking about the country has produced this vast repertoire of music we've gifted to the rest of the world, and that's great. That is something that we must celebrate. In fact, if music is that important, and I'm gonna slightly go off topic here a little bit, but if our music is that important, and as you as the custodian of this element of our country's culture, you are the minister of the culture, and you have an agency that provide the oversight as well. And music is that important. We need to move from up to a position where, because to allow our Jamaicans to be more receptive and more responsive to whatever we're trying to do with the music, we need to teach it in the school. We need to start maybe not necessarily at primary school, but certainly at the secondary level. So you sensitize people. The music is a massive part of our history, so it must be part of how when we teach history, that must be part of the curriculum. And then you look at the musicians who have led the way, people like a Prince Buster, massive part of our thing. And so, because once you start to do that, when you come now to talking about creating an album, and I have to say this to you, creating this so-called album is not a bad idea, you know. If you tell me I'll create an album for this particular purpose, but it can be you create this album as a replacement for something that you should have done and you never do it. It should be because our music is this great, we are going to do a celebratory. If you tell me that in a different thing,
right.
In addition to the festival song contest that we're going to put up give me 10 of the song, whether them good, bad, or indifferent.
Still fishy.
Put 10 people out there and carry them around the country and thing.
If them take the road there, it's still fishy to me, but at least it doesn't question my intelligence.
Yes,
it doesn't make a mockery of my intelligence.
Yeah, there you go. And then when you do that, you can say, but remember now, Jamaica, we have some significant artists out there,
right.
Barry Salmon, this and that. And as a mark of our regard for the contribution that these guys have made to the music, and I'm still here, we're going to invite them to come together and put on it. It's a different argument.
Right.
Different argument.
Right.
Because it shows a respect for their contribution.
Right.
And it's something that now can be a collect as a keepsake for Jamaicans, because this was done for this thing. But you'd have to tell me this about a year ago.
Not now.
Can't tell me now.
And this would also have to be in addition to the fact that those contestants that you would have chosen would have, if they're not going to get them an album
the top 3.
Yeah.
Are we going to
get them an album too?
And put them in it? Are we going to give them an album? The 10 best songs that come out.
It reeks of commercialization right here. It reeks of it almost sounds like a record label hustle vibe.
Yeah. And that's the thing that makes me uncomfortable.
Right.
And I'm just trying to understand.
The harder they come.
As a man, I'm saying, do we really believe or expect that he can push the ball past so much strong defenders? And like one time when I was RJR and JBC, you are a radio station.
Yeah.
We have internet, so we know everything. As you sneeze, we get it.
Yeah.
So how do you expect to run that past so many people?
Not caring. That's always been the thing. Is like, okay, it's one thing for somebody to tell you a lie and hope you believe it, versus them telling you a lie and not caring if you believe it. I'm gonna tell you this just because I'm, the rules say I should tell you something. I don't care if you believe it or not. Truthfully, I don't care if I believe it. But me just I tell you, I think.
In other words, me just answer.
Me just answer a question.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Because it'd be a little bit more disrespectful if I didn't answer the question. So we'll answer and calm yourself. So I don't know. It and I feel for those contestants. I feel horrible for those contestants. I feel horrible for the future, because at the end of the day, if that happened to me this year in 2022, me nah submit again.
That's another interesting point. Okay, so 2 years ago, it was 2 years ago when Buju win 2 years ago. The experiment that brought together the Buju and the Toots and the whole of them. Okay. If after you have done that, we have ended up here this year, it shows the disconnect of your efforts. What you have done then was a grand waste of time and resources, because you thought this was your attempt at professionalizing. And so if the success, anytime you do anything, and I'm a business person, so you look at if you create, if you design a strategy, right? Well, that's not even a strategy, that's a tactic. By bringing these big names, that's a tactic. So the idea behind it is that because them a big name, them do not go play thing. But that all right, let's call it a strategy. It's a strategy. The tactic that will drive that strategy is that all of this music that these people played or created, you don't need to be playing on the airwaves constantly,
Right.
as a reminder to the public at large that this is what we did with the festival thing last year, and why we're gonna continue with it.
Right.
Thing, because you have demonstrated some commercial viability of the output. That nothing happened after the 6th of August of that year.
Outside, we said we had a winner.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this. Over these years, we had a lot of, let's go back to Toots them back in the day, Roy Ryan back in the day, you know what I mean? Delroy Wilson back in the day. When those artists entered the competition, some would say they're amateurs, some would say they weren't. The Jamaicans, everybody. Were they at the level of their career that Abuja Bant and a majority of the people who were on this class were? None of them were, right?
No.
Okay. So, that being said.
Remember, Toots was just boss when him do the festival thing.
Yeah.
And if you remember, police lock up Toots the day after the festival.
Exactly.
Right? So
even Eric Donaldson was up and coming.
None of them
had a name and a career and stuff like that.
Right.
But yet
Roman
still,
Stewart may have had a name.
Tinga brother.
Yeah.
With this last time when we had all these big name folks on there, right? We didn't have the effect. And again, the reason why you're going for the big name is because they already have a following.
Right.
They already have mass appeal, right? So it should do this and bring it to somewhere where it's never been brought before. Did that happen?
No, and again, they dropped the ball from as far back as then. Because if you have put out all of this effort to bring these names, it is not an unreasonable expectation to have of them to be, because have these faces. All you need to do is to give more exposure to these faces. And so you create that repetitive thing in the minds of the consumers of the music, right? I doubt if you pull up, Toots dead, so that may be a little bit different, and that kind of drive this thing. But some of the other people who entered, Michigan, Papa Michigan did enter. Who else did in there?
Sugar
man.
Lost.
No, what name did that? Regardless, the point is, if you were to go back,
I can't remember now. 2 years ago, ain't good.
There you go. So if you go back and you say, let's go back and pull up these guys' songs, right? And see how many views they have had and that sort of thing, right? The kind of commentary that followed those entries.
Right.
And what did we do? Because we're in a social media age. It was the coronavirus period. So there was the opportunity was presented to utilize the internet.
Right.
And drive the viewership to the song. We started Yard Media in 2020, right at the outbreak of the coronavirus thing. And we knew we were trying to develop an online platform but we weren't going to try to buy no traffic. We weren't going to do it organically. That's it and thing. But it does require a lot of time, because you have to have people who are now doing the posts on social media, following the conversation that develop around the song. If somebody asks a question, you have to respond to the thing. So you create this whole social media energy around each song, and you drive that. JCDC was responsible for putting all of this thing together. They put that contest together, and so they have a responsibility to support their investment, because there's a lot of money that went into putting this song thing together. And so one really need to do an assessment of how did they support that investment. Would you win him, you make a $3 million, whatever him do, the money is inconsequential. The bottom line is those were the prizes that you announced. And so if you look at how much money did it cost the country to make all of those songs? Because I am submitting that most of these artists never spend the money out of them pocket for put them songs together. That
really
on a significant money.
Unlike the 123 you're expected to do for this one.
Because this was an effort you are trying to bring. So if I'm an artist and you come to me and say, boy, I want you to do some tune, me not pay no money for develop the work. I'll do the song.
Especially if I'm Indian Gaga, man.
Yeah. Me ain't putting any money in it.
Yeah,
I will give you the time and I'll do everything.
Yeah.
But I ain't spending $1.
Right.
So I'm saying to you, just by that process, you would think, do you think Toots would take him money and go make that song? I hardly think so.
I doubt it.
Right? And so the question that it begs then is, having committed to that kind of investment, how did we support that investment now with the marketing side? Because if we had done that well, it would have made it easier for you to continue in this year. If that was successful, we wouldn't be having this conversation now.
Right. They would have done it the next year.
Because you're going to do it the next year, and it's going to be better. And so it becomes it's almost a no-brainer that we're going to do this now for 2022.
So that's profound. Well, we think about the panel, and we think about a whole bunch of other folks, because it's not just the panel, there's a bag of people involved in that thing, right? The ball dropped from and a lot of times, unfortunately, when it comes to these kind of scenarios, you do have the head honcho, right? You do have the person at the top, and hierarchy is important when it comes to Jamaica, right? And then everybody else follows suit and just follow with the puppet. You know what I mean? They're puppets on the string. Right. They roll wherever it goes. Of course, we got to come into these meetings and we got to talk about stuff, and we got to support the hierarchy. We have to support the facts that them say, and so forth. But if I handed you the keys to this thing tomorrow, I say, yo, no, that thing I not go right, you can fix some things. Me give you the key, all autonomy. What are you doing?
And the budget for make it work.
Well, yep.
If you give me the key and the budget.
Oh, they go hand in hand.
The first thing we ever do is we have made songs. The history is out there that show we can put a song together in a week, if you have the money. So we're gonna take 10 of those entries. We're gonna go back in and we're gonna put a team of people together, and you ain't gonna sleep until you find me 10 set of lyrics that we can work on.
Right.
And we're gonna produce 10 songs, right? And then we're gonna design a promotional program around those 10 songs, which include a campaign. We're going to take these artists right around the island. And we're going to make them sing these songs in every major town, or our major parish capital over the next 5-6 weeks, right? So we might have 3 or 4 shows a week, depending on where you are, right? And we're going to bring it down to the public is part of the process, because what I try to do is raise the energy level up. So we bring in the big producer, them who understand how to put a song together. We got a Sly Dunbar and a Grub Cooper or whomever else out there as prophet, and we say, guys, we need all hands and eyes on deck with this thing, and I want you create the rhythm track for this thing. If this song so and so singing, but could we find a better voice for singing them song, right? We're going to compensate the writer and so on. And this is where we're going, because it's 2022. So, and then we're going to have a road show. And we'll culminate the road show in a City X or at the National Arena or the National Stadium. And we'll open the gate for free, make everybody come in. So we have an audience.
So you've just turned it into what it's supposed to be, which is a national thing.
Absolutely.
And the thing about stuff like that pretty much is the thing you mentioned, the energy of the people is important, because at the end of the day, I think there are many people right now who think that the only people affected by this are these 123.
Absolutely.
Right? And of course the panel and whomever, and you and me. But the truth is, when all this album come out, or whatever the next thing is, I can't see the masses being as interested.
But they're not a part of its creation. So you all get them for be interested.
So it's just another album.
Yeah.
It's just a compilation.
Unless you bring the people back into the thing where they're a part of its development and its creation, you're wasting time.
And August is around the corner.
August is 53 days away from today. August 6th, by the way.
Is all lost?
If you do what you just asked me a while ago, it's not lost. I'm saying to you, we can do it. We have the expertise. It's certainly there.
I haven't heard him say it, and it's because I'm not paying attention enough. But word is that the Prime Minister is not pleased, and the Prime Minister wants some stuff done. But now we're using words like the Minister of Culture, and we're talking about Prime Minister and all that thing. How much of the disaster that is playing out here is political? And when I say political, I mean party versus party.
No, I understand it. I'm just processing before I respond. Well, remember the festival thing has the responsible administration. The government of the day is responsible for the execution and implementation of the cultural program that surrounds the independence period. And so if it get messed up, you have to place the blame with the people, because it's either A, people were not properly directed, and that's management. Sometimes we need to just call a spade a spade.
Yeah.
By saying that you dropped the ball, if I said, G. Cole, you could have done this thing better, it's not a criticism of you. I am saying that you dropped the ball. It's either it's a fact or it's not a fact. Right? It's and so we need to stop take this pecuniary position where we get crony because somebody said, "Boy, you dropped the ball."
Ego.
It's not. It has nothing to do with that. We are all interested in the best for Jamaica. We know. Let me call a spade. I am 64 years of age, and I have seen all of the ministers of culture. I've never had much experience with Siaga at the time in the early 60s, but you have seen over the years. Babsy Grange, as a minister of culture, has done a fairly good job, better than most of our predecessors, right? In terms of our elevation. But the thing about being in charge don't necessarily mean that you have to have your hand on everything. What you need to do is to make sure you have competent people, and then you provide them with proper instructions, and you give them the thing to do them work. But with the understanding that if you F up, we're going to slice your throat.
Right.
There has to be consequences for thing. And so if there are no consequences, we are just gonna keep repeating the same mistakes over and over. It is not an indictment on the minister per se. It's an indictment if you don't do nothing about it, right? The reality is that we dropped the ball. There's no arguing that, maybe we are trying to take the thing in a particular direction and there was not enough preparation or resources in place to deliver that direction. And I'm just throwing the thing speculatively. But the reality is we are 53 days away from Independence Day. And we don't have a festival song.
Right.
There's another side of that thing, because I looked at this whole thing and here's where I believe that we as a country we dropped the ball bigger than just the festival song. A number of things happening in Jamaica in between the July and August period, right? There's going to be Carnival. Remember, Carnival was postponed from Easter to July, right? You have the Dream Weekend. You have about 5 of them theme parties, or 3 to 5 big theme parties, including Dream Weekend. That is going, and then you have Sumfest.
Sumfest will come up too,
right?
yeah.
So what we should have been doing is looking at the 60th independence celebration as an opportunity to sell Jamaica on the basis of, with all of these massive cultural event offerings coming up, the place you want to be. If you love the music and you love the vibe and thing, is going to be Jamaica. But you needed to have been planning that at least a year and a half ago, right? So that even the element of the song thing here, you want to be able to deliver these songs quickly so you can push these songs through, not only to the radio stations, but you need the entrant to go up on Sumfest or any other stage show,
and the whole of them
weekend thing. So because the idea is to rivet the song offering to the public, and if this is where the people are going to be gathered over the period, that's where you want to do this thing.
Makes sense.
Do I believe that am I have the view that it can be done? No. I think the thing that makes things happen in a country like Jamaica is money.
Right.
And Jamaica are not short of money. People might down there broke.
Right.
But
who have the money have the money.
Money shortage is not a thing. The other thing too is, if you don't get up and prepare a program that is saleable to your sponsors. Because the government alone, like, you can't expect them to go in your pocket and finance this thing. So you need to create a package of offerings that is saleable to the people who are the big advertisers in Jamaica. The rum company, the liquor companies, the insurance companies, the banks, the Digicel, the phone company, all of them. And so if you present them with a package, they're looking at where they might get the best
Return.
advertising exposure from, And so if the thing worthwhile, them going to back it. And so this is how you make the thing work. But if you never prepare the thing properly from Jump Street, am I going to come to you now with that?
Nah. But even political pull, right? Because at the end of the day, that stands for something too, right?
True.
This is Jamaica where political pull is as viable as money.
Yeah, but we reach a stage now in Jamaica, though. I agree with you with the political pull, but the people who have money, political pull alone ain't going to do nothing for them.
No, but I mean,
I'm not going to look for you and say,
wait, what agreeing?
No, I'm going to look for you and say, you want my money for sponsor something. I need to be able to sell that to my board.
Right.
Right.
But more so from the avenue of even radio, because there's a big complaint, and even dude made like we'd be struggling to get this music on radio. If political pull can be there to get your stuff off radio,
that's a different thing.
There's no political pull that can get the stuff on the radio.
Absolutely. Listen.
So why they make it sound like it's that much of a struggle?
Part of the problem is that and I saw that it demonstrated is a sort of Jamaica still have this political divide down the middle. So you have some people who will just not want to work with certain ministers. Minister have clout. The minister have our clout.
Yeah.
And if she reach out, the problem is her reaching out is not going to be enough. Because you still you have to sell something to the agency that you are asking to do that what we're talking about. For put the thing them on the radio and play the song. Put in a rotation where you give me at least a half a dozen play per day. Because that you need to drive the thing. And so
every major.
Yeah, every major media house that is there, a radio station. So if you do that, and I believe that that's the starting point. And then you behind that, you're surrounded with a social media campaign that you have it pan blast on every other platform that is out there, right? And then the other thing we have to do too is you have to move away. You have to sweeten the thing to the entrance. You want the people that enter the competition, one, you have to support them with the technical side of putting the record together.
But they've done that before, because the year in Buju won. Forget that. 2 years before that was the heaviest social media, heaviest campaign period that I've ever seen for the Festival Song competition in all my life. Right? Everybody had videos done. And from my understanding, it was not at the expense of the artists. They were all upcoming and unknown artists because buddies of mine were involved in it. And it was all over social media. It was beautiful.
I remember that.
You remember that one, right?
I remember that.
And
that's why I know it can be done. That's why I'm saying
it can be done. No, and we speak on all the stuff that go wrong all the time, right? Which is because it's evident and it's in your face. Did anything go right? Did they do in this whole leading up to today and us having this conversation? Did they do anything right?
Well, yeah. The press conference was a good attempt at damage control.
Right.
In terms of
having the press conference.
Okay. The content represented at the press conference left a lot to be desired, but it does count as an attempt, right? Coming out of that press conference, because that thing, the decision to go with the 3 songs and to put them out there in the public domain, that decision was made at that press conference. Right. Because I'm one of them who say, what work would we have? I would have wanted to go further and say, we really should have dig in and try to find 7 more songs out of that thing. But not having all the information at the time, we couldn't support the position. But now I'm stronger in terms of that. Because I don't believe that, and especially listen to Gussie and you tell me, but man, I sing about sun and sea and thing. Yeah, it's a festival song, and that is usually a component.
So what's the sing about?
Well, it comes.
That's
back
one of
to
our
the
major
directive.
exports. One of them. That's one. When we brand Jamaica, more than anything else, what we brand it for? Sun and sea.
I agree, but and then even one man say this mentor thing, them will go back to mentor. Mentor is an integral part of the culture. If a man, you're literally trying to tell people to slice out aspects of the thing, and then you're not giving them adequate enough direction as to where to go. So
you're right. Yeah, you did complain with a mentor song.
Yeah, somebody made that comment about boy man I still at the mentor thing and all of that. Because mentor is a critical component, is an integral component of the thread of our music. Reggae music have mentor rhythms in it. And we can go all the way back. It's the same principle, right? The only music when I run no heavy mentor or ska because of the tempo, right? And so when to hear people making those arguments, you say to yourself, you kind of wonder.
That was excuses. That was a reach.
What am I doing in a?
That was a reach. That was a reach, and that's the reason why when I heard that, I started questioning everything thereafter. I started questioning the whole fact of the acapellas and the demos and the this and the quality. Because at the end of the day, if somebody going to say, "Yo, we'll go back to the old mental vibes," when 90% of the technically 80% of the panel is from mental days.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? So that's why it kind of never made any sense to me. A lot of the stuff felt like reaches.
And that's what in the final analysis that became my assessment. I realized that these guys were, listen, we living in Jamaica provides its own special challenges. We still live in a small society where individuals have clout, and so there's a point at which certain responses, when a man look at the defense of his bread and butter, you see it even in what we conduct discussion on social media. Mm-hmm. And, cause I'll be honest with you, I run a whole heap of people off of my Facebook page because of that.
Right.
Because how dare you, the man almost has said to you, how dare you question the man, the authority. Listen, one of the things about having an education is that because the fundamentals of any kind of education is literacy and numeracy. Mm-hmm. And all that, particularly the numeracy, puts you in a better space where you can think, you can process stuff. So I don't have to be an expert in an area,
right,
to be able to identify that the man will talk crap. Mm-hmm. Because when you break down the discussion, you can say a rubbish the person in attack.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And what happens is with Jamaica is a country where you have some little man where them are demigods within the sphere them control, and nobody don't want to challenge them.
Right.
And what that does is that it entrenches this path on which buffoonery run through the country all the time, and people, or you have others who, in the way, you can't criticize the prime minister, you can't criticize the opposition leader, you can't really.
But even taking it from that vantage point, and we mentioned earlier that sometimes the best thing for a leader to do is delegate, put some responsibility on others, on people who are capable. And if they're not, then you hold them accountable, which
sometimes as a minister, remember you are the head of the policy formulation thing, not the implementation side of the stuff.
Right.
We run into problems when politicians believe that because I'm the Minister of Health, I should be able to tell the doctor how to make the slice for the operation. That's the problem.
Right. That's the problem right there.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a medical doctor. You're not a musician.
Somebody said yesterday, that the role, because I think that I got to give her credit where credit is due. She's a rock star in terms of certain things, right? She's known out here amongst the entertainment part. I don't know about the culture, right? But the entertainment part of it, right? And she makes her presence felt. and seen.
She's visible.
She's very visible, especially in comparison to her predecessors, right?
Absolutely. And she's and accessible, to a large extent, accessible as well.
Right, but dropping the ball on this, and I'm not saying she should no longer be the minister of, entertainment, sports, and culture, but should somebody else now head this thing up based on this whole?
I think because of her style with which she goes about her job as a minister, it gives the impression that she is as a minister, she's accountable for it. But that accountability really starts with the people who are responsible for executing the policy. And so if I was in her position, I would fire somebody.
And so how about firing yourself?
You see, she's not the implementation person. The ball. What happens is she gets into trouble because she always likes to pull the thing onto herself. But
so you want to be the quarterback, so you get the glory, but you also get the blame.
Absolutely. If you go because you pull in the thing by yourself, when something like this happens, people will point finger upon you. Me personally, knowing how the system work, I believe that the ministry messed up, and by extension, because the agency, the JCDC, is an agency that comes under the Ministry of Culture. They messed up. And if it comes down to a case where, let me call a spade, because the more as I'm saying it, if you mess up and there's a price to be paid, you need to pay that price. Right. Whatever decision is made. The trouble with all Jamaica work and politics in Jamaica work is that
nobody now got admitted
which
was evident in the meeting.
Yeah. In fact, everybody seemed to want to not speak to the elephant in the room.
Yeah, that was my observation. To the point where, and this is unfortunate, to the point where they almost blamed the 123 people.
Oh no, they never almost blamed them. They blamed them.
It was well. Let me rephrase that. They put it all.
Yeah.
So it's almost like everybody here did everything perfectly right, except for the 123 people. If they were capable, if they did better recording, if they didn't mess up,
we wouldn't be here.
We wouldn't be here.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And that's bull crap.
That to me was
that's crap.
It's crazy, especially again with who's there. And the unfortunate, well, let me not say that. The concern of mine pretty much is this, especially when it comes to Jamaica, and again, when there's any political hand or foot in it, is that there could be issues, errors, mistakes, straight up blunders right now. And it happens again next year because we don't make changes.
Well, there's no consequence for thing. Look, listen. Again, a shift on a little bit of a tangent. Say ministry. 4 young girls, 17 years old, run them heart out and broke the world record in the 4x100 meters at Carifta Games. Phenomenal time. This is an out-of-body experience to have watched the race, right? And them submit the thing for ratification to IAAF, right? And IAAF say Tina Clayton wasn't drug tested, and the response was, but with the test the day before. No. When you respond like that, what you're saying to the world is that you don't understand the role that you play within the ambit of this thing. Because the rules say when a record is broken, all of the athletes involved in the record-breaking effort must be drug tested. It's bad enough that they never tested, and they probably could have gotten away with it if they had not submitted the record, the result to IAAF for ratification, because you could claim it as a record, but it's not an official because you never submitted for ratification, and it would stand as a record.
Right.
But no, they submitted to IAAF, and IAAF said it come for 0.
Wow.
Right? And nobody is fired.
Right. I'm surprised any of them blame Tina Clinton.
Well, you'd be surprised. Maybe if it dig deeper, they might try that. But the point I'm making is there's no accountability.
Right.
You know, and Jadco came up for criticism like that some years ago, the same kind of thing with him. You know, it's almost as if it's a job for the boys kind of thing, and the people who you put in these positions. I'm just so glad for in at the stadium for watch the event that them don't remember say I work with their work, and there's no consequence,
No accountability at all.
You know, I would expect that the responsible minister, at the very least, would put it out there that the board need to step.
Yeah.
We need to clean.
Something needs to be done.
And thing, because that doesn't speak well for our athletes. Again, this is the second aspect of the country and its culture that is what brings the floodlight, the spotlight on the country. It's track and field. And here we are in another era where we are at the pinnacle of our game, and you F it up.
So all of the things we mess up on the major stuff, right? Cause we don't mess up on Miss World. I've never seen a mess up on it yet. But we mess up on our track and field. We mess up on our festival vibe, which is what brings the eyes and the attention, one of the world, one of more so the diaspora. And like you said, no accountability. That somebody commented and said, "Hey, I hopped on to the meeting, but I had to leave after about 20 minutes. Since you saw it all, what did I miss?" And my comment was, you got from it after leaving in 20 minutes the same thing that I got from it after leaving in an hour and 20 minutes, right? Which was nothing more. When at the end of that meeting, were you any more enlightened? Did you feel pacified? Did you feel, did you feel like, okay, well, you know what, my questions are answered, Minister X?
You asking me?
Yep.
No, I thought it was a grand waste of my time.
So you want payment for that hour and a half?
Yeah. Cause Xavier asked me to think. Yeah. But as it's my duty.
Right.
As a man who in support of and defense of the culture, it's my duty. I have a responsibility to listen. Even though, as you say, after the first 10 minutes, you kind of know where this was going.
You saw the tone.
Yeah, but I thought, though, nonetheless, that given the impact of the news of the previous days, it was a necessary thing to do.
Yeah.
So, you could have get more from me if you had articulated some concrete decisions that you're going to take as a result of that. The only thing that came out the thing, and I could have sensed that we never needed to be on the thing for more than 30 minutes to make that decision. We'll find 3 more songs or 2 more songs, and we're going to put those
out of the trash
songs.
pile.
Oh, yeah. We're going to put those 3 songs out. Because essentially, that's all that came out of it.
Right.
There's no, we spent almost 2 hours to tell people, so we found 2 more songs. And what we're going to do is that we're going to put them out in the public domain and start to push those as the festival song for thing. Whenever we have a contest, you did say that already. So we never need more than 20 minutes of a press conference.
Damage control at its finest.
Yeah. Is it damage control? I don't know, because I think people
did it feel sincere? Did it feel like a sincere meeting, or did it feel like some people say, "Yo, this ain't gonna stop if we don't go fire up a camera right now"?
Do I think that the meeting was the represented? I thought it was. I didn't get the impression that what was being represented was sincere. For me, the sincerity would have come from a stated recognition that, we really should have done better than this.
Yeah,
right?
And that didn't happen.
And I never heard that. When I asked the question about when we start request entries, the way all the responses were coming, tell me that they would have preferred if I had not asked that question.
I thought they blocked you at that point in time.
Eh?
I thought somebody hit block.
Don't make him ask no
Can't
more.
make him ask nothing more. What else I bring again?
Yeah. and so I think at that point I got a sense of a feeling of, this is a grand waste of time because these guys them have something with them want come and say. I mean, when the minister come, the minister will turn on her charm because that's her.
She's good.
Yeah, she good when it come to that.
Yeah, you got a salesperson in the office to be like, that guy's good.
Yeah. And I said, so when she came,
Right.
because I left the thing and came back, and because I know since I'm recorded, I can always go back and replay segments of it just to see what did I miss. And I realized I never missed anything.
Right.
And then she came and she's just papering over the cracks and saying everything. But the bottom line is, for the value, the significance of a 60th anniversary, I didn't get this impression that these people really value, they weren't demonstrating that the kind of sincerity that I would have expected, that, this thing is so important and we really have made a hash out of it. So let us, turn up the burners and increase the energy, and let's see how we can drive this towards the finish line. Never got that.
People tend to know people in their same tax brackets. People like them, similar minds. A lot of times I said to my daughter, I say, yo, you know something? Talk to Uncle such and such. She's like, I ain't doing that. I'm like, why? Because he thinks like you. You know what I'm saying? So so let me ask you this now. Outside of you and me and the other crazy, you're more like an anthropologist for this thing, right? Me, I'm just a lover of the thing. People like us get worked up about this. But I wonder how big is the community of people like us.
It's big. I think people, people are disappointed because there are enough of us who understand the value of the time that has passed. 60 years of independence. Mm-hmm. We recognize that the country has its fair share of problems and things. But that notwithstanding, we have been at this thing of self-government for 6 years. There's a whole heap of criticism of Jamaica, and I'm guilty because I'm not afraid to self-flagellation. I'm a Jamaican, and I am not afraid to say, we mess up in this area and we could have done better because we can do better. Mm-hmm. And there are a lot of Jamaicans out there who, remember, we never postponed Christmas in Jamaica. We never postponed Easter. Mm-hmm. And by extension, we don't postpone independence. They may not seem attuned to the thing in the immediate period.
Right.
As we are leading to it. That energy builds as you get closer to the day. Right, people still dress up in them black, green, and gold. And it no matter, whether a wash over gold or people dress up in the thing, right? Yeah. And down a yard is no different. I make thing and people call you and them want 100 t-shirt or whatever because somebody buy it. The nationalism is still very much there. Mm-hmm. Are we doing enough to drive it, to take advantage of the presence of this thing? I don't think so. Because I think, we have the two Jamaicas syndrome is rising, heavily now. Yeah. You have people out there who will say, boy, me alright, and if me alright, I don't really care what else I go on. I'm going to tell you, look at what happened with politics. You have 2 man and a dog vote in an election in Jamaica now, right? So, people are interested. There is not a lot of difference between the PNP and the JLP. So, the days of the ideological politics that has gone, now the politics is basically being measured again in terms of the management style that is taken to governance of the country. And so, people basically look around and say, but the two of them are the same thing, so I'm going to kill up myself for. It's not like one
Lesser two evils.
There you go. So, but to your question, I am on social media a lot, and, plus I have some interest in Jamaica. My siblings are down there, and my old lady thing. God, bless her, still they're about even at my age, and so you kind of operate within that circle, and people are excited about it. In fact, there's a certain level of excitement about us being 60 years, and Jamaica people, them not ungrateful for it,
Right.
and so people really are looking for a way to celebrate this development. And plus, remember, too, coming out of COVID has been a repressor of spirits, So people wanted to use this. I get the impression as you listen to some of the conversation that implicit in some of the responses, this is would have been a good opportunity to sort of, just take a fresh breath of air.
And we failed to capitalize on that.
Have we completely failed? I don't think so. I think we have enough time.
Do you have faith, though, that the powers that be care enough to rectify it? Or it's just, because here's the thing, and this is just how things are. Do you remember the 9-day syndrome? No matter what happens, in about 9 days, it's going to wear off.
Yeah, but the fortunate thing with this is that you have more than 9 days. You have 53 days.
For the event.
Yeah.
But we have enough time for people to move on.
No.
To forget it and move on. Forget the blunder that is.
People, if the government comes with a good PR program, people will forget about it. Because this is a time of levity for that's what independence is all about. A lot of Jamaicans who live in the diaspora make plans for go back down to Jamaica to be there. I remember what it felt like to stand up in the stadium parking lot in 2012, and I am there with a bunch of my friends from high school days, and the whole away in our 50s, and I remember while I'm standing there, I am reflecting, and I was 5 years old and downtown in Parade when we were independent. I'll never forget that. I don't have no deep recollection, but I remember that because my old man used to ride a bicycle,
right?
And so myself and my sister and my bigger brother, it was 3 of us at the time, and we were all there, and so that deep nostalgia, it comes back. And I think to what had helped in 2012 was the Olympics. So and then this massive celebration thing that was going on in the stadium just right from next door there. But Jamaicans looking forward to that kind of festive period again, and so I wouldn't say that it's gonna just blow away. I think people are anxious, people looking forward to this, and I believe that if the government play them cards right, the minister of the personality, Babsy ain't gonna walk away and left the job. He can tell you that that's never gonna happen. Right. Me, if I was in her position, I would sacrifice some people.
Right.
And so you demonstrate that we do something about this thing.
Yeah. And sometimes that's the only way to prove that.
Yeah, you have to just
some heads got to roll.
Chop some head.
Yeah.
And then you come out, and since she loved this, make announcement, make some speechwriter sit down. I hope she'll listen to the interview and take some suggestion from that and come and
get some speechwriters
and take some and put that in your speech and go in and say, this is what we ever do to the thing. And if you call me and me want me give you little advice, me not a problem for you.
It's a thing when even the writers have to write in the accountability, because it doesn't come naturally.
No, Jamaica, Bridget, what do you expect? Jamaica.
So the writers got to put that accountability in there.
Man, yeah. Account of what?
I'm begging politely for read it. Listen, don't skip this part. Don't skip this part.
Maybe listen, after you reach out of the word, they just dash the script and just ad-lib.
Wing it.
But, listen, I think we have a responsibility. Yeah. It is our 60th anniversary. Let us all G-Cole, let us get behind the program.
Yep. And it ain't too late.
Yeah. In spite of, the frustration that we all share in terms of our going, we have the option, we have the choice. We can make a choice of staying at the doldrums, or we can become part of the transformation. Right. I want the transformation role.
Right.
I think we need to do this kind of conversation, and while we're doing this, let's try and shine the light now on the positive side. I believe we can turn it around. You know, when you get a festival song, if that is what people are looking for, Persia
that ship has sailed.
That ship gone long time.
Right.
Let's look at how we can get the rest thing. We have Jamaica Tourist Board that is in the wings to market the country, and we just need to package all of these activities that we just point out. Sumfest, Carnival, the Dream Weekend, and all of these big parties, and we build a massive PR campaign to drive people back to Jamaica. I hope that JetBlue put on 2 more flights, and the new airline will charge a gold teeth jackass money for go to Jamaica. That will put on some more flights so have people down there.
Right.
Because the country need the business, right? And you know, I make way to encourage the police, tell the gunman and brethren, put on the irons for the next 2 months, right?
Chill for the next 2 months.
You know, we don't like it chill forever, but at the very least, chill for the next 2 months.
Right.
And make way suck out all of the juice out of the celebration.
Right. I love
That's how we have to talk to the people then.
I love that. And for the people who are up here who need to get some T-shirts and some things and can celebrate, tell them what they can go.
Yeah, man, show them the shirt.
No, what the thing there?
Yeah, man.
Listen, ladies and gentlemen, I got my stuff, all right? I'm going to tell them the big and straight, you know. This is not the giveaway, because it's anytime I come with good stuff, people be hitting me up like I might think I give it. Don't hit me up. You don't hit me up. I'm straight out of plastic. Now make sure you see it before it's unwrapped, you know.
There you go.
Before it's unwrapped. My thing independent. See it now. I can't even vex with the people. No, I know you put me in that.
No, you can't.
No, sir.
There you go. Let them see it party.
So I was right when I said that there's a price, right? The price for me was a T-shirt. Get a nice T-shirt, I'm gonna vex again.
Yeah, man. That's the nice. We have to find a way to mollify the thing. You know? So, yo, Bridget, our place, G. Cole, you know, Jamaica belong to all of it.
We gotta protect it, vex or no vex.
And nothing wrong for vex, you know. Nothing wrong for cuss and go on bad. You just can't, you know, nobody dwell upon it. Yeah, we just, you know, because...
And I think that's what's important, you know, is to realize that even expressing the frustration is not in an attempt to be bashful. It's an attempt to express our frustration and figure out how we're going to fix it and move on.
Yeah, listen, the first thing we have to do is recognize that something not right, that we mess up.
It's just something that's not right. The Ninja Man says something, right?
Yeah. And if once you accept that we mess up, then the next step is, all right, so we'll fix this now.
All right, well, I'm looking forward. And if you figure out something with JetBlue, let me know so we can get that discount on the thing. How the people can get them shirt? God, I'm not get them.
Yeah, man, tell them.
John, I'm not get them.
I want you to go to yardmedia.com. It's YAADD, yardmedia.com. And we deliver all over the world, right?
And you do the hats too?
Yeah, man. In fact, they had 25 smackers, so on.
Cool, man. That's it. Nice.
Smackers.
Oh, the T-shirt, the
T-shirt at 22.
Cool,
right?
Man. So,
and
man,
the quality without question. You see it already.
Soft and nice.
Soft.
Yeah, it ain't the shrink in the laundry joint.
Yeah, man. I'll go pay body. Listen, the shirt, I wear that shirt, I know. This about the 6th week me I wear the shirt.
Yeah.
And my wife has it put on the thing, she throw it in the washing machine. You know it go already. Yeah.
So, great to have a wife at home. Trust me.
Yeah, man. Can you imagine? I think it's G Cole. At 12 years, me out the road the Bible says.
Life's a little different now.
At first, it was a little adjustment.
Right.
You wake up in the night and say, who this in that bed? But anyway, you know, it's a good feeling.
Yeah.
And as we put on the shirt, she will wash them. But the good thing is,
now wash
out because it's a screen printed shirt.
Yeah, shrink up and none of that.
Shrink, nothing like that. You know, this is something that you'll have for sure. This is the positive side of the thing, you know, that 60th anniversary, I was there and see the shirt as a memento.
It's kind of like that Obama vibe. Remember that? Can we still have 2 shirts and T-shirts in my closet?
Yeah, man.
So
make we just go out there and go build a vibe.
Yeah.
You know? And then tune into Yard Media and watch Sunday Scoops every Sunday.
Right.
2 o'clock until 4 o'clock. In fact, next week we had a program we call One Hit Wonders. You know, all of the man them make a
one hit
song. Yeah, that's
I was talking about one hit wonders where they say, you know, the only people who out there can't stand a one hit wonder is a no hit wonder. Right? The no hit. The no hit one, not that bad man, the one hit one.
And then we try to do some legacy program too. Again, inconsistent with the 60th. Because a lot of the people who coming out of that ska era, I'm coming out, we have Roy Panton and Pauline, who we're bringing on the Sunday before the 4th of July, 3rd of July. That's supposed to be a massacre. Roy Panton is a massive ska aficionado.
Yeah.
And you know, we want to highlight these because that's the culture.
And that's something that I appreciate, because even me, I'm not gonna lie, my thing is purely just passion and love. And it's a situation where I have got these people who I've loved all my life. And my goal is to sit down and talk with all of them, right? Once me take off the bucket list, I'm going to turn off on my camera then. But enough of them. So I'll be here for a minute.
Yeah, you're going to be
I'll be here for a minute.
You know, I look on it the same way now. I say, when I came up with the idea for this thing, I call God and Magic, I say, yo, man, if I go to God, I say, yo, man, I look at thing, man, I like it, jam up, and God look for me. I say, yeah, man, you play some music. I tell him the concept. I say, why me? I say, why not? You know? He said, well, you know, only part of the other man, man. Yeah, I say, yeah, I know them, but them play music, but them not grounded and think the music.
Yeah.
Like, that me I look for. I look for somebody where this is it's like where I get a PhD in the music thing.
Yeah.
And
it's important.
I mean, I have no regrets, brethren.
Big up God. Big G.
Yeah, man, Big G thing. And
Magic.
Magic there, oh my God. We can't do Sunday school.
Man, I kidnap him one day and I come at this up. Y'all think me looking and look how way I am. And I tell no lie.
The man understand. They understand that. As a group, my son me drive in and him love it. And him know him, you know, him run the tech side behind the thing and the SEO and all of that. But, you know, we have some challenges coming at us now because we have a growing constituency that want to tell them story. And then there are other aspects of the culture that we want to pay attention to. So, you know, it's a nice problem to have. You know?
Very much so.
We just,
and we got nothing but time.
And we have time. Listen, as me tell them why Jamaica record music now for about 73 years. So we can't run out of material, right? And people them out there. And, you know, them are depend on we for present something that them can believe in. The artists, them love it. You know, when I tell you, Slide Down Bar call me, this a man call me, you know, and I say, and then people realize that, you know, I don't guess the thing, you know. And for me personally, I mean, I was around when Toots win 66. I was around when the Whalers, when Simmer Down. I remember when Simmer Down bust.
Wow.
Right? And that time, you know, Marley, in fact, Marley used to live a block from where me live, on Hope Road.
Wow.
Right? And they used to rehearse music in the band used to rehearse in the yard. And the time I go UWI, I think I was going to CAS, but I worked. I'm going to school part-time. And about 10 away, rent this big house in a Sanders Crescent. And the house is about a 5-bedroom. There was a helper's quarter, so it's actually a 6-bedroom, right? And the helper's quarters was a slab roof thing, and we used to just put some chair up there and go listen to the free concert the man time with the man and thing. So
very few people can say that.
May I tell you, man, and you know, so when for me, as I say, it's a passion because I have been there. Dennis Brown and I would have been the same age, you know, and so I'm born February, me born November. But I remember when him just started sing Money in My Pocket and a little boy at the time, you know, 10, 11-year-old, me just saw KC, you know, and by extension, we can go on and tell. I grew up with all of these people.
Wow.
Right?
So you got you know, it's almost like what I told the late great Bobby Digital in here. I said, listen, my favorite artist of all time is D Brown. One of my favorites is Garnet Silk. You know, Sanchez. I said, I've never met these guys personally. One, because they were before me, died before.
Right.
So you are gonna introduce me to them. You know what I mean? That's what I need right now, because I love these artists so much. You've been there, you work with them. So guess what? But when we're done talking today, well, I have met them, but I met them through you, and it's the same thing you know what I mean, bringing the stories to life.
Living, you know, you live the thing, and so a lot of times you have these conversations, and you know when a man call them say, "Boy, I'm here about the show and rare," but all you think that interview. Shabba Ranks called me and said, "He want me to pay him for come on the show." I say, "You mad?"
I got one of those. I got one of those a couple years ago.
Yeah.
One of the big Spice people them hit me up. I said, let me not say the name. Spice people hit me up and I said, "Boy, you want an interview?" And I'm like, "Oh, for real?" Because I'm a year in, you know what I mean? And hit me on social media and say, "Yeah, man, bam, bam, bam." Then them hit with a price. I'm like, I ain't doing
Yeah, I mean, well, call him that. I'm calling me and say, "Bridget, me can't do that."
Yeah.
I say, my show is, me I give you a microphone for amplify your story.
Yeah.
And that's how we have built this program over the past year. We've been doing it. And
If I got to buy the story, I got a feeling it ain't real.
but not only that, what do I tell the other people?
Yeah.
You know, I would have compromised my position completely. I
Yeah.
say, you have a microphone that is available with us here. We're willing to accommodate it.
Yeah.
You know, you have your music is your story, but we just need you now to tell it yourself.
The hustle never stops, man.
And thing, but you know something.
Hey, to each his own.
And
Can't. To each his own.
Bridget.
We need to talk to Slight, you know, because I'm gonna stop putting these things off. There are certain people who I'm supposed to speak
have
to.
you
I'm gonna put it
have
on.
links with him?
I think I have a number on my phone for him, but it's just
No,
we
but
don't-
me I would do better than that. You talk to him and tell him.
John knows that me I talk about. We have this my recording, you know.
Yo,
Matter of fact, I'm gonna cut that little part right there.
No, listen, love Sly. Sly's his demeanor is very disarming. It's almost impossible to believe that this man
Yeah, has accomplished what he has.
is as accomplished as he is. Because when him come and he sit down and talk to him, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, love talk to him. The only problem with talking is you have to have time because Sly.
Hey man,
him
we got
story-
nothing but time.
You know,
Nothing
Sly-
but. I'm gonna count on you to make it happen for me.
Yo, I mean, listen, me reach out to him and tell him, say, listen, me have a man and I want you to talk to him for them thing. I mean, once trust is a hell of a thing, you know.
Right.
And that's one of the things for me. Integrity. You know, people have a way for sense that about, you know. There you go.
Oh yeah.
And you say, I go down to Jamaica, I go to the studio and see, man. The man introduce me to someone. The man make you feel like you're God, you know.
that respect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I say, but me, think, and I say, no, man. Him say, what you do?
Yeah.
Mikey Bennett. You know Mikey Bennett?
Yeah.
Mikey,
Yeah.
same kind of thing. Mikey and I, we go school. He was a couple years ahead of me at school.
Right.
But I knew him not from KC, but my first job, he was a personnel manager at the library. And they nearly fired me, in fact.
Mikey nearly fired you?
Me go buy some Bob Marley tune for the listening post of them and them say,
Yeah.
if you carry them back, or them go fire me.
Say that for pay for them.
Them say, me have to pay for them. And I say, me not pay for them for doing. Me never have a record player to play this part. Right? Me did buy Catch a Fire,
Yeah.
Burning, and Natty Dread. I think Natty Dread. 3 albums.
So go put in the library.
The library had a little place them called a listening post. So
Right.
you must have some nice soft seat that you put on a headset.
Yeah.
And you play the album.
Yeah.
1970, 76, 77. And I said, me take the library money, go buy Dirty Head Rasta Boy music. I mean, I have to go to Mikey and I say, Mikey, thing, and him go to, Auntie was the principal librarian, Picard, and say, but the man are doing job. And people them ask him for increase the variety on the post, and that's what I mean. If you look at the traffic that come, you know, the amount of people who come and sit down to listen to some music,
Right.
and that saved my job.
Mikey.
Yeah. And
Big up yourself.
never remember that. When
Yeah.
I remind him and him say, oh yeah, me remember. No, yeah, tell me anything. But, you know, nice. The man there have a understanding. But I'm story. Me not telling nothing, you know.
I need to talk to Mikey Bennett too. And you know the funny thing? Before we even get out there, I'm going to tell you this. So the people who are humble and the people who give you them kind of disposition are always the people who have the right for hype, you know.
I'm telling you.
And so the people who hype,
Them not have nothing. No, nothing. I'm
No.
telling you.
No.
The man, them personality. Say next man, they too.
Mr. Willie. I love Mr. Willie to the ground, man.
Sorry.
I dropped this here before we even roll out of here. 2006, I put out my first album, Young Youth. Them man are Grammy-nominated artists. They have a legacy to protect. Somebody bring me to Mr. William, have a song and so forth, and I'm a big third world fan or whatever. Now I'm on a film started. I listen to the thing, give me some bass and some run the corner. You know what I mean? First album come out 2007. 2 songs, man, Mr. William play, man. Heard what I had faith in me, love what I go on, and just never charged me a dime.
That's what I'm saying.
Never charged me $1 play on a song. Mr. William been like this ever since.
He was very helpful in us building the portfolio of interviews that we have done. Our participants, because I call them conversation, it's an interview thing. And Willie, in fact, him supposed to put me on to her thing. It's just that I don't call him. I haven't spoken to him in a couple of weeks now, because Willie is the next one. You have to have time.
Yeah, man.
But a better person I've never met.
Yeah, great human being.
And him don't have to do it, as you just rightly said. You would have figured a man with them kind of stature and thing.
Yeah.
We had a thing one day we needed to have a discussion with Lloyd Stanbury and thing, and he said the best man to talk to this is Ebo Cooper. And he just boom and make a call, and I said, call him now.
That's another man too,
Yeah.
Ebo? Oh my God. You know what? Let's get the heck out of here, because that's another day. Ladies and gentlemen, listen, first of all, thank you so much again for passing through, my brother.
Anytime, my brother.
I appreciate it.
Anytime.
It's Mr. Richard Blackford. It's Sunday Scoops. It's Yard Media. Get your shirt. Get all that. And come. And so again, we probably need to do this once a month. I don't know.
Man. Listen, because the thing is, listen, the culture is fluid.
Yeah.
We have a responsibility to stay advised and to keep the people out there who are our constituents, to keep them informed. And, I think it's very important that we have these kind of dialogue.
Yeah.
So people get a sense. Because sometimes, a man write a news report and you were there when the thing happened, and you wonder, what the hell is this?
I've always surmised all of that and said, but to be a part of that, no, when you did it, and
yeah, but you see what happened, and then you read when I'm writing and you say, I wonder if this must have different thing.
It's not the same guy.
Yeah, it couldn't.
Especially since the tone that he had on the interview was not the tone that was.
Yeah.
It almost coming like right after him come up, a man call him.
Yeah.
And I say, yeah, man, me here I talk some things, Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to stop spreading rumors for the people, them. We out. Jano. And there you have it. Thank you so much for tuning in. It has indeed been a pleasure. Remember, the podcast Homegrown with G. Cole is available on iTunes, Spotify, TuneIn, Stitcher, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Radio.com, YouTube, wherever you listen to your podcast. We're there. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Check out homegrownwithgcole.com to see all things homegrown. And remember, this interview is available on YouTube so you can watch live. Be safe, be kind, be good to each other. My name is G. Cole, and this is Homegrown.
Nakikinika sa música, Homegrown with G. Cole.
Estás escuchando Homegrown con G. Cole.
您现在正在收听的是 Homegrown with G. Cole.
You're listening to Homegrown with G. Cole.
Remember, all the music played here on the podcast Homegrown with G. Cole is available on iTunes, Spotify, and all your digital retailers. Please support the artist.